Well, hey there. So I have to tell you, I am recording this episode from Maine. We are on our family vacation, and I'm sitting here in this gorgeous house looking out at this beautiful lake. And this vacation has been it's something. So I think this may be a newish Airbnb, and the people are so lovely and they are so responsive. Really just terrific people, and I wish them nothing but the best. But we have had like the shower leaking onto the floor and the skylight leaking onto a bed. And now today on our last full day here, the power went out this morning about 5:40 in the morning, and I keep checking the website, and there is no time scheduled that we could be back on. I think it's 30 people or so in the town that we're in, which is about 20 minutes north of Portland. About 30 people have lost electricity, 18 customers on the road we're on. So I can't get any estimate right now of when it'll come back. And because we're in the woods in Maine, even though we're just outside of Portland, you can't use the toilets and you can't run any water. It is like, oh, so the family just went off their separate ways. We have two cars here, and two of them headed north to an arboretum, and two of them headed south into Portland. And for some reason, as the mom of this whole venture, right, I feel like it's my job to stay behind. And I don't know why I feel that way. It's so funny, and I would really love to know if you are feeling this way too, because it's so funny to me. It's like I didn't even consider that I would go off with them, on their adventures, because I feel like, well, if we're not going to get power back, we can't stay in the house. We can't spend the night here in the house with no water and no bathrooms. I mean, it's touch and go for me right now as it stands. But I feel like as the mom and as the person who has arranged the trip, because we know that's what we do, right? And I feel so fortunate to have our adult children, and we have our daughter's boyfriend with us, and he's lovely. But I feel like it is my responsibility to have the contingency plan ready when they get back. And did they ask me to do that? Of course not. They didn't ask. They didn't even hint that that would be necessary, right? It's just something I feel that I need to take on. Do you feel like that? Do you all feel like when it comes down to it and you're doing a family activity, and now you do have these wonderful adult children, right? But it's still up to you. It's still your job. Like, let them go play, and you are going to figure stuff out. Like, I'm gonna flag down a truck or something and climb the wires to figure out what's going on. It's so silly, I think, and I don't know. I'm just so curious if this is just something that I'm doing. Am I craving some peace? Because it's really been a terrific vacation. We've had a great time, even though there has been a heat wave. And when I say heat wave in Maine, I'm talking like mid 90s, just so you know. But the AC here works great. We've had no complaints with that. The bed's crazy comfortable. I would not hesitate to stay in this place again because it's so lovely and it's so together and it's really great. It's just we happen to lose power. So I would like you, if you've got it in you and you can send me an email or maybe comment on social or something, but let me know if this is something you are dealing with too when you go away or when you're handling things for the family without any push from them. Do you feel responsible for all of it? Let me know. And now let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Empty Nest Kitchen. where we're finding fun in the kitchen now that the kids have flown the coop. I'm Christine Van Bloom, a cooking teacher with over 25 years of experience, here to show you tips, tricks, and joy in your kitchen, all while trying something new. Let's get cooking. So welcome back. I wanted to let y'all know that this is going to be the last episode of this season, and I'm going to launch a new season in September. I have a ton of really fun people that I'm going to have on the podcast, and I'm going to do a lot of recording this summer. But I thought, let's take a break. It has been such a smashingly fantastic first season, and I'm so grateful to all of you for taking the time to listen and for taking the time to comment. And it really just, to quote my grandma, well, it just tickles me. So thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it and just how much fun this is. You guys know that my whole business, my whole line of work is teaching online cooking classes, and I've actually got a kick tushy schedule coming up for July and August, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I know you're out doing stuff this summer, and that's fantastic. Really excited for all of you. But if you are on vacation and you want to do something fun with the family, or if you're not on vacation and you're looking for something fun to do, take a class with me this summer, and let's eat good food, and let's connect, and let's have some fun. But today, I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and it was so clear to me because I don't know if you know this, but new episodes of The Bear have just released. The whole third season has just released. So I thought I would talk to you about the food, movies, television that I think you can really enjoy and maybe get something out of. So let's start off with the big screen. And let me tell you that I have 3 food movies, very different food movies, that I go to for different kinds of inspiration. All right? So none of these has been produced in the last 5 years. I think the newest one might be a decade old. But if you enjoy food, you enjoy cooking, you enjoy kind of the whole romance of the food world, because let's be honest, the food world is sweaty and hot and dangerous, but there is a romance to it. And that's why I got into food. So let's start off with the big kahuna that we all know, and that is, of course, Julie and Julia. Now, the author, Julie Powell, passed away a couple of years ago. She was young, too. I think she was in her 40s. And she really is kind of responsible for, I think, the way that bloggers, food bloggers, and all of that got started. Now, I'm guessing if you're listening to my podcast, you've probably watched Julie and Julia. But if you haven't, it's basically 2 stories in one. One is a story about Julia Child getting started as a food goddess, I guess. And then one of Julie Powell, who is much less romantic of a figure. But I really could see a lot of myself in her, starting her food blog where she cooked all of the recipes and mastering the art of French cooking in a 1-year period. And mastering is the Bible, I guess. It was kind of the first big cookbook, incredibly well researched. Just phenomenal book, but really old school. This was produced in the early 60s. So the food that's being made there is nothing like the food that we eat today. I love this movie because I just love the 2 stories intersecting. I love seeing the food coming and how Julia is starting by teaching and the persistence on both counts. So when I need a little kick in my pants, I need, maybe I'm feeling a little sorry for myself food-wise, Julie and Julia, that's the one for me. That is the movie that I always turn to for that. It's a good, grab a Nespresso and sit back and just watch the movie. I love it so much. So that is my number one. My number two, also really romantic food movie. And this is probably the least likely one that you've seen. But this one is called The 100-Foot Journey. And I think Oprah helped produce the movie. There's something with that way back when it happened. Helen Mirren is in it, and boy, it is a story about food. And really, I keep using the word romance, but the romance of food. And it takes place in the French countryside and, an immigrant family and a Michelin-starred restaurant and competition and then companionship and just really opening one's mind and embracing new things, which is something that sometimes we struggle with. So this is a movie I like to watch when I need inspiration. The main character, the main male character, who is a chef, and there is a strong female chef in it as well. But of course, she's not quite as good as he is because that's how the book's written, even though there's so many kick-tushy female chefs out there. Anyway, I digress. Really watching him learn a different kind of cooking. I believe he's somewhere in Eastern Asia, perhaps India somewhere, and watching him embrace and then really do real fusion cooking, not, slapping something on a bagel and calling it fusion because you're doing two cultures there, but watching him with the tasting and the preparation of the sauces. And it's not initially a feel-good movie. I know that a lot of times, they got to take you down before they pull you up, but it takes a little while to get there. It's still beautiful. You have gorgeous French countryside. You have attractive leads. That's never a bad thing. And you have really great French cooking. And even though I went to culinary school in New York City, it was a cooking school. Shout out to all my grads of Peter Kump's New York Cooking School. Now it's called ICE. But back then it was a French technique-based school. It may be now as well, but we were in a brownstone on 92nd Street. And then it was again just hot and sweaty and so many burns. But there was a romance to it. And I think that this movie, The 100-Foot Journey, takes me back to that romance of perhaps when I was really digging in to start to learn the skills so that I could eventually hone them. So number one, Julie and Julia. Number two, 100-Foot Journey. Really recommend you give those a watch. Number three on my food movies that I keep in rotation, you know it. You know what it is. None other than Chef. So this might be my favorite. It might be my favorite because Jon Favreau is, my goodness, he can cook his ever-loving face off. He worked with a guy named Roy Choi who is out in LA, and he helped really train Favreau in getting stuff together so that he could really, really cook. And there's no stunt hand doubles in this. It's really him chopping that fast. And if you are looking for, first of all, the soundtrack is spectacular. It's really jazzy, Miami kind of based Cuban music. And oh my goodness, it'll get you rocking and bopping. I love it so much. But the movie is about a restaurateur and a chef, and they don't get along, and a restaurant critic, and starting a food truck. And it's really so much fun. I don't know. It's talking about changing your path in life, right? Taking the skills that you have, but changing your path. And that speaks to me. And I'm guessing maybe that speaks to you too, because as we are doing the thing that we're doing, sometimes we don't have a choice but to do that dreaded pivot. Forget 4-letter words. I'm tired of 5-letter words, mainly pivot, because this movie really shows a crash and a burn and a pivot. And the pivot is kicking and screaming, right? Kicking and screaming. And how many times have you had to pivot where you didn't want to do the darn pivot, right? And I think about it. I think about how after I had to close Kitchen Studio, how long it took me to figure out that, my goodness, I really love teaching classes. And how can I still do that? So, chef, first of all, you're going to want a Cubano. Uh, Second of all, I think it's John Leguizamo is in it. And I mean, I just think he is potentially one of the funniest people ever. He plays a great supporting role. Oliver Platt, who I just can't get enough of. I love that guy. He is in it as well. And if you are looking for something that's got a more upbeat tempo, watch Chef. If you want to feel really inspired and excited, like not just inspired, but excited and excited to cook, watch Chef. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it yet, I bet you can find it streaming. And let's be honest, pay the $2.99 to rent it on Amazon, because that is good stuff and you're going to love it. I promise. I really want you to, if you haven't seen these, pick the next really hot day, the day that's really uncomfortable, pull your curtains, get yourself something nice to eat. It's summer. The food is exquisite. Your whole job with food this summer is not to do too much to it, right? That is my goal with summer food. Just don't do too much to it. It doesn't need your help. It doesn't need too much help, okay? So, Julie and Julia, 100-Foot Journey, Chef. My top 3 food movies. This is them. But food TV. Now, I know what you're thinking. Food Network? Chris, Food Network? No. We're not playing around with the Food Network. Food Network is fine if that is your kind of thing. But all of those competition shows, and I just don't like them. I will watch Top Chef because I think Top Chef does it as well as it can be done. And they have some incredible food minds. I have always liked Kristen Kish, who was one of the co-hosts. She's new this year. And Gail Simmons, boy, she's cool. Tom Colicchio, they're just solid food people. They really have the chops here, which I think is great. But all of those other competition shows where they're putting the artificial deadlines and they're just trying to create drama, this is not where I'm headed. So I will never yuck your yum. If that is what you love, then love it, baby. Love it. I've even thought, maybe I need to try to get on one of those shows to build up an audience for all the good stuff I want to do. But I don't think I could do it. I could do it, but I don't think I'd enjoy it. So what kind of food TV am I talking about? You know, number 1, because I said at the top of the show, the Bear. Okay. I have not had a television show, a fiction television show, because I'm kind of a nonfiction girly in my life. I have never had a show grasp me the way that The Bear has taken over my soul. Not only is Jeremy Allen White a dish and a half, those eyes, but he also comes off like he really knows what he's doing. And restaurant work was not my thing. It wasn't. I waitressed when I was in college. Shout out to the Ground Round in Reading, Pennsylvania. But I never, I don't know, by the time I went to culinary school, trying to work in a restaurant, I was already married, and I've said it 100 times before, but I really liked my husband. I really, really liked him. And food back in the 90s, very different from food today. And, that is a hard life to lead back then. pretty hard driving. You get your shifty at the end, which means you're finishing your night with a drink. I don't know how I would have handled it, right? So I just made the call that that wasn't going to be the thing for me. And that's why I went into the teaching and all of that. But I did do a little time in a restaurant, and I'm telling you the dysfunctionality of what they capture, but the ultimate, I hesitate to use the word love, but as I think about it, I think it really is, because you are really connecting with the people that you're working with when you're in any kind of a food business, caterer, cooking school, restaurant. You connect on a deep level with these people. And this is the really cool thing too. You have to understand that anybody in any aspect of food is about hospitality on some level. And I just think The Bear nails it. I think it nails it. And if you haven't watched it yet, clearly you've been living under a rock. But if you haven't watched it yet, now is a perfect time. It's on Hulu, I believe. And I even upgraded. I got Hulu and I got it so I didn't have any commercials, because I'm so obsessed with The Bear. And by the time you listen to this, I will just be getting back from vacation. And my plan is not to watch any episodes until I'm back and I'm settled in. So don't tell me any spoilers. I don't want to know. But season 1, so great. Season 2, I am just going to tell you, there are 3 episodes that really rocked my world. And they're all right in the middle. I think they're 5, 6, 7. And they're just absolutely fantastic. Episode 7 is called Forks. And you really have to watch every single episode before it to get to it and to have, I kid you not, I just got goosebumps on my leg thinking about it. It's so darn good. So take a listen, watch The Bear. If you haven't watched it already, I'm telling you, I am a 56-year-old woman. I love that stuff. You don't have to be some young stud cooking in a kitchen to relate to it. You are going to love it. I promise. Give it a watch. Give it a watch. Spread it out. Like, appreciate it. All right? And you ready? This is my final food, I guess, entertainment that we're talking about. And this is going, again, a really different direction from The Bear. But I am really hoping that you are taking the time to watch The Lost Kitchen with Erin French. And if you haven't heard about it, The Lost Kitchen is the hardest reservation to get in the U.S. It is a farm-to-table restaurant. And I know we say farm-to-table and it's kind of overrated, but it is a farm-to-table restaurant in the middle of Maine. And think about that. Think about how short their growing season is here. Think about the fishing and just all of the things and how creative you're going to have to be. And let me tell you that Erin French, boy, do I like her, man. She has a book out. I think she just has one called Finding Freedom. I believe this is on the Magnolia Network, and then because of that, you may also be streaming it on Max. But Bruce Warner, who is a gentleman who, he and his wife Karen, lovely, incredible people. Bruce sent me a message like 2 years ago. He and his wife used to take classes with me, and they're just the loveliest people. And he sent me something, and he said, Chef C, if you haven't seen this, I think you might like it. It's totally... He didn't say vibe, but I know Bruce meant it was my vibe. So I trust Bruce. I trust Karen. I found it and I started to watch it. And, oh, did I love it. It's kind of like, oh gosh, now Vivian from North Carolina, she had a show on PBS that was so good. And she would highlight different ingredients and all of that. She doesn't do that show anymore. Which is why I'm not recommending it, but you can dig in and find her, Vivian Howard. But Erin French has been through some stuff, let me tell you. And if you're looking for a good read to go with your good TV, pick up Finding Freedom, because the name of the town that she lives in is called Freedom, Maine. And it's like she goes through stuff, man, like real stuff. She goes through real things and how she has come out to run this restaurant. And she's so personable, but chill, right? She's just so chill. And I love it. I love seeing what they had to do during the pandemic because, we were all so scared. Running a restaurant, oh my gosh. I know what it was like running a cooking school. Running a restaurant? Eeh. So part of one of the seasons goes through how they did that, how they came about that and figured that out. And then growing. I will tell you that in this week that we have spent here in Maine, I have looked no fewer than 3 times to just check if the distance has gotten any shorter so that I could visit the mill shop. It's a restaurant in an old mill. And it was only about an hour and 20 minutes, but I was just like, don't do it, don't do it. So if you get a chance, again, Magnolia Network, and it may be on Max, there is a new episode. Is there a new episode coming out now? There's a new season starting right now. And this is one where she and her husband are kind of traveling the country. So I'm curious about how much I'm going to love that. But I can tell you all of the seasons to date have been really fantastic. And I think it may be something that you'll like. It's a little bit aspirational. It's certainly fun. It certainly makes you appreciate someone who really embraces her craft. And she hasn't attended culinary school. Her family had a diner, and she just does the thing. And it's so much fun when you see these people. I have had to work at food, right? I've had to dig in and read and pay attention. And I still remember there was this guy in 95 when I was in school, Jose. Darn it, Jose. Jose just had it. Jose was like the Michael Phelps of our classroom. I kid you not. He just knew. And he'd come from a restaurant, right? But he just knew. He just knew what worked. He just had the natural instincts. And that was so cool. It was so, so cool. So just, fun stuff. A little aside there for you. Sorry, I'm feeling nostalgic with no power looking at the list. But movie picks. Julie and Julia, duh. Chef, fantastic. 100-Foot Journey, really great. Add these 3 to your repertoire. TV picks, gotta go with Lost Kitchen, and then again, our superstar of the moment, The Bear. So I hope that you guys will give these a watch. And please, as always, I am dying to know what you think because you are so awesome. And I just love to hear if any of these things have an impact on you or if you spend an afternoon enjoying them. And I really am a big fan of that day when you don't have a lot going on. I'm not joking. Pull those curtains, drop the air conditioning so it's much too cool in the house. It's working much too hard, and you're taking a minute for yourself and enjoying something that you really, really like. So, for season 1, my undying gratitude, you will always find my upcoming classes on emptynestkitchen.com. And we're going to start introducing some meal planning. Oh, what? We're going to start introducing that in the next couple of months. And fun, really fun, live online classes. Even if you're saying, I'm not much of a cook, let's get online, let's connect a little bit, and let's have some fun in our empty nest kitchens. As always, I'm Chris Van Bloom. I'm so delighted that you let me come into your car or your house or your ears today. And again, I'll see you in the kitchen.